Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another Telling It Like It Is. My name is Jade Alberts, the founder of Pure Guidance. We're a purpose before profit group and a fractional business team that really gets out there, shares our knowledge, helps you, and we've been doing that for about 9 years. Scrolling across the bottom is our I guess it's our partnership with Osler, and what we do there is we are giving you a date to come in every Tuesday to sit there, talk to us for free, get any advice about people, about IP, about strategy, about grants, legal. I mean, it is a great opportunity for you to come in, check it out, and get that advice that you need. Also, want to give a quick shout out to Startup TNT. Their summit is coming up here in a few weeks. I believe applications close tomorrow. If you're looking to raise capital, we'll have a good conversation about that today. And I believe in 2 weeks is the top 20 night, which obviously will be a platform. But today we're going to be talking about raising capital in a little bit of a different ways. I am excited to talk to Paul and Erich, the founders of Go Alberta Crowdfunding. How are you today?
Hey, fantastic, Jade. Thanks for having us on your cast here. It's an honor to be here. Looking forward to sharing a little bit of the story about Go Alberta and what we're up to on the equity crowdfunding side.
Yeah, I don't know how much of an honor it is, but I appreciate the kind words.
All publicity is good publicity, right?
Exactly. Unless you're talking about, eating cats and dogs. I don't think that's good publicity, but we won't digress.
Oh, we'll see.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. I was lucky enough to meet you gentlemen here a few weeks ago. We had a coffee. I had a quick opening, and somebody that had to move because they're going to be out of town. I was like, oh, this is the perfect opportunity because we're running our next Startup TNT Summit. And I really, there's been some crowdfunding, companies out there that have done different things, but I think there's a very big education that has to go on with crowdfunding, because I think people, think of the old way of crowdfunding and that's not it. So why don't you talk about how, equity crowdfunding is different than your traditional crowdfunding?
Sure. Traditional crowdfunding is essentially a fundraising approach whereby individuals collectively contribute, small amounts of money to support a project. You're probably used to something like a GoFundMe page where unfortunately something tragic happens and usually money's being raised for individuals. Outside of that, it's usually rewards-based crowdfunding where you might be a small business with a new service or a product and you're not too sure on the uptake, on interest. So it allows you to create a marketing campaign to get pre-orders. We've seen this around the world, especially with musical artists, where you can go to your fan base and raise money for your new album. So people collectively give you money, you produce the album, and their reward is maybe first dibs on the release, maybe an autographed version or some kind of other extras. With equity crowdfunding, again, it is a fundraising approach where you're going to a lot of individuals for interest in a project to raise money, whether it's inventory or hiring more people or expansion. But the difference here is that you're receiving stock ownership in the company. You're receiving shares. Think of it as like a Dragon's Den or Shark Tank, where you're pitching, I need 100 grand for my brewery. I have a new contract with co-op liquor stores and I need to increase the inventory, maybe hire someone, and I'm willing to give up 20% of the company. So now for participation to help the company receive these new goals, you're receiving shares, and now you're a shareholder like you would be if you bought stock in NVIDIA or Lululemon or something like that, except it's a private company here. That's a quick rundown.
The quick rundown. Anything to add, Erich?
Yeah, for sure. So, equity crowdfunding in its concept has actually been around for quite some time in various parts of the world. I mean, it's been very well adopted in places like the UK and Australia. I mean, last year, the most recent statistics I was looking at for Australia, there was some 71 million raised in 82 campaigns across all different industries and all kinds of different applications for those funds. What's really unique here and what's really changed is it's for earlier stage entrepreneurs and startup ventures where you may not quite be ready for that larger financing, or you don't quite qualify under the bank regime for whatever reason. Maybe the debt to equity ratio is a little bit off, but this really opens the door to connecting your business with all your supporters and new potential customers, and a way to actually use and leverage the online technology to access the capital you need. It's really quite exciting. Now, Canada's a little slower to adopt this process, and that's what makes this really exciting and unique. Is we're excited to get out there and tell people that this exists. It's available to any Canadian corporation. We focus on Alberta. That's kind of our playing ground. We know there's a lot of great stories here in Alberta. We've been hearing about them since we got approved. And we're excited. We're really keen to get going on this.
Again, for anybody that wants any information, the website is up on in the comment section. So it's go-alberta.ca or /crowdfunding. So just click on it. You don't have to worry about typing it out, and it is there. So, I mean, obviously, I've been investing for 9 years. I've done a lot. We've got 35-ish out there, my wife and I, and the majority of them have been through Startup TNT. And anybody that is, helping fund, helping startups raise capital is top notch in my book. And again, one of the first questions that we talked about was, how is this working with Alberta, the ASC and things along those lines? Because people always know there is an accredited investor type thing. So I want to touch base a little bit on that, because I think it's important for the people that are listening that you've actually gone through this process. So why don't you share, what you've done to make sure that this is a proper way to invest?
Yeah, sure. So crowdfunding, as I mentioned, was around for quite some time in Canada, usually a little bit more focused in regional efforts where commissions had created specific exemptions for their jurisdiction. But then the CSA kind of got on board, and they harmonized the regulations under National Instrument 45-110, which created a uniform platform across Canada for access. And what that did for us is it allowed us to make an application to become an exempt funding portal, where we, as an intermediary between the company and the investors, hold the cash and facilitate the collection and help with the marketing process to achieve the financing. And what it really does do is it changed the exemption for prospectus requirements, where most companies in the private realm that need or want to raise money could only access accredited investors or friends and family, which as we know is a fairly small segment of the population, somewhere in the range of 1 million people in Canada. So I mean, those people are inundated with requests and opportunities, and this exemption allows this base to expand suddenly to the balance of the population. The mitigating side of that is, I mean, this is a very risky prospect. Most startups are very vulnerable, and for a variety of reasons don't succeed. But the crowdfunding exemption helps mitigate that by bringing in, as Paul mentioned, small amounts of money from large groups of people.
So is that, what kind of companies are you actually looking at? I mean, most of the companies that we've invested in have been lifestyle and clean tech, or not lifestyle, clean tech, life science, ag tech, things along those lines. A lot of those are getting the love and all the notoriety here in Alberta and Western Canada, for that matter. And I've also been a very big proponent of lifestyle businesses. Every exit I've been a part of, they've been a lifestyle business in my opinion. So, and it's very, very hard in some of the comments that you mentioned before, Erich, that the banks aren't going to give them money. They're maybe a little too early. Chances are they're never going to be investable from an angel. You might get a little bit from family and friends and things like that. So is there something here that could be geared a little bit more towards the traditional lifestyle business, or is it something that you're looking at big tech as well?
Paul?
We're definitely industry agnostic. Our main focus really is on Alberta and Alberta businesses, but we've in the short time we've been in operation have looked at a wide variety, everything from the traditional energy and mining, all the way to ammunition manufacturing, to geothermal, to tiny homes, to we talked to a band the other day looking to raise money. So outside, we're getting a lot of love in this province outside of the traditional oil and gas, as you mentioned, the technology, which we're definitely interested in. The bottom line is when it comes down to a campaign, regardless on the industry, it really comes down to the word crowd, and it really has to do with who knows your industry, who knows your business, who knows what you've done, and whether you're a friend or family or a friend of a friend, it's that story. So a regional story, whether you're say a brewery in Fort McMurray versus maybe an energy related company or energy technology related company, your circle will vary substantially depending on it. But just to your question, we're industry agnostic and we're open for all comers, really, if whatever kind of business you might have, depending, there's a few restrictions on who we can deal with and who we can do this for, but come all.
So those restrictions, are they, the industry, or are they something that I don't want to pry here if you can't say, but is it something just, for industry, or is it for, what are the restrictions?
Well, I think, I think just across the board, Jade, there's some industries that are probably more suitable for equity crowdfunding. Some tend to be a lot more regulated and restricted, and perhaps at such a sophistication level that a very small audience would actually appreciate, where a company is going with their business plan. So this type of opportunity does lend itself well to businesses and companies that have large, broad-based application, usually a consumer product or something at the tail end where you have people buying things on a consumer level is very amenable to doing equity crowdfunding. When you look at some of the statistics in the UK, for example, food and beverage was like the number one equity crowdfunding space, followed by healthcare and sustainability and consumer goods. So there's a spectrum there for sure, where I think people can really wrap their heads around what they're buying and what they're getting themselves into. And then there are just some areas that may be environmentally or regulation-wise just too difficult to actually create a crowd and a following for.
Well, and everybody's looking to raise some sort of capital, right? It's, I can, people have heard me talk about this many times about, what I think about how much time they should be spending raising capital and how much they should be spent on actually going out there and selling and controlling the only capital that they have access to. But that being said, you mentioned kind of the clients and the, and the investors. So I'd like to kind of dive into a little bit of that. So how do you go out there and find the clients and vet the clients, and obviously the same question goes for the investors?
Yeah, actually, Jake, just before we jump into that, I want to go back to that point you just made. I think it's really relevant. One of the things that we hear pretty regularly, and most of the things that we've experienced through our careers is, raising capital for the entrepreneur and the small business is a very difficult path to navigate. And depending on where you are in this province, that problem can actually amplify itself. You can be in a fairly geographically remote area and have very limited access to, say, the network of angel investors, or a network of a large urban center where you can attend events and different things. And this technology, what we're doing today, is really leveling the playing field. And equity crowdfunding actually, when you market yourself onto our platform, you're actually reaching that audience without actually having to leave your location. And I think that goes a long way to helping these companies find a way to access new investors, as well as actually tap into areas where they couldn't normally reach. So that's an exciting part of what this platform represents. And in terms of how companies reach us, well, it's very simple. You come to our platform. There's a place that you can answer some 5 questions or 6 questions that we've pre-screened, just basically telling us who you are, how long you've been in business, how much money do you need, when do you need it by. It just gives us a really good snapshot in terms of where you're at in terms of timing and whether or not we're in a position to even help you raise the capital you need. And it gives us a chance then to reach out to you and further the dialogue once we review the answers.
And I'll add to talking about technology is whether we like it or not, everything we're doing, so much of what we're doing is online nowadays. This meeting here is online. Social interaction is predominantly done online. People are ordering online, and now people are investing online. Pre-COVID, we saw there was always discount brokers, but pre-COVID, we saw companies like Robinhood in the States, Wealthsimple here in Canada, that made it very convenient. Where sitting on a bus, you can open up an account, fund it, and start investing. During COVID, we saw this. Not only with very speculative kind of investing that came to the forefront, but also people participating in stuff like cryptocurrency. And the reason I mention that is, like Erich said, we've made this very convenient on our side also because of geographical limitations for companies. We're trying to bring those businesses to the forefront online, and it allows not only the company to tell their story and distribute their message very effectively, again online, but it allows the investor to just as easily participate in an offering, to allow them to do their own due diligence and to simply click a few things to now be an owner into a private company, which wasn't actually allowed until recently. Now bringing in that 95% of people who are not accredited investors, and technology has been probably the biggest reason to allow this to happen. So we're excited.
No, again, for somebody who's been doing this for a long time, even in the 9 years, I've seen a massive change, and a lot more funds pop up here as well, as well as yours. And again, for anybody that wants any more information, I'm talking with Paul and Erich, the founders of Go Alberta Crowdfunding. Just click on the link in the comments section, and it will take you to their website. Before.
Hey, Jade, maybe before we just move on, one last thing I want to mention, and I don't think we've actually brought it up yet, is the exemption itself. It allows for up to a maximum of $1.5 million in any 12 months, and the amount that any investor can contribute can go as low as $100, for example. So there's quite a spectrum there. I think that when you really look down when you want to apply this particular exemption, or when you may want to incorporate it into your business plan, it is definitely that earlier stage, just somewhere between after seed up to maybe your first significant angel investing. So it fits that 100,000 to say 750 or even $1 million range for the amount of money.
Perfect. I mean, so and that's the angel. The pre-seed is kind of your angel type rounds, right? That's where they're looking to get in your first resource of outside capital type thing, first money into a company other than your family and friends, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Sorry.
And now I forget what I was going to ask.
Sorry, buddy. I didn't mean to take it off the rails.
Oh, well, I remember now. That's a good thing about live, right? You just never know. It popped back in my head. Thank God.
There you go.
I know. Again, I've seen it come, evolve. I mean, and even up to, I want to say, 6 years ago. If somebody wanted to find an investor, it was hard. It was hard to find. Like, I was working in the industry, so somebody would come and I would see some decks, and me and my buddies would sit around, and we would say, yeah, we want to do this one. We want to do this one. We want to do this one. And then kind of, Startup TNT happened, and that gave a platform for something very, very similar to this. Obviously, you have to make a bigger investment on that. And when COVID hit, COVID really started blowing up on the way it was, because now we're able to showcase a lot of these things online. Everybody's stuck at home, and things along those lines. And it's been and it's really taken off. And, again, just recently in the first quarter of 2024, we're the number 3 province in Canada right now. Behind Ontario and Quebec. We just passed BC. So we're seeing somebody like Tallgrass Ventures, what Chris and Wilson have done there of the largest first time fund closing at like 37 or 39 million. So we're seeing a lot more interest in what's going on here. And in part, that's because of the great government support that we get as well, and the ecosystem that we have built here. So I see something like equity crowdfunding for those people that don't have some will have a minimum check size of 25,000 or whatever it may be as they start to grow. But if somebody wants to start building their portfolio and start small and learn how, like you said, learn how to invest, learn how to properly do due diligence, this is a great platform for it.
We're very excited about the changes. I think that what you mentioned over the last 5, even less years is amazing. I look at the younger generation, and I was thinking about my son. He's very unlikely, and not necessarily a good thing, to walk into a brokerage firm, fill out all the accounts, and go through the KYC. The kid, younger generation, and anybody probably under 40, they're very intelligent as far as how to do their own due diligence and to do their own research and to invest. So this is just another avenue where they're allowed now to participate in something that frankly wasn't allowed before. Traditionally, as Erich mentioned, it was the accredited investors, and this change, this amendment has done two major things for the company. Now their audience that they can go to for investment capital has substantially grown. But as you were just saying, Jade, now that massive amount of the population are invited into this secret world of private equity that wasn't available to them before. So it's a whole new area of investment that can only help the overall economy. So we're very excited about how this has changed and what's available to the general consumer out there.
I agree. And I'm somebody's probably going to yell at me later on today for saying this, but most people don't want to invest in a fund. So sorry, Chris, sorry, Vinair, sorry, Antiquity, sorry, Brian, sorry, everybody. But that is kind of, realistically more for high net worth people and things along those lines, or people who don't want to have the time or want to get involved in the community, but don't really have the angle to do stuff like this. So I love the fact that you have another entry point into learning how to help, how to make sure that you're part of this community moving forward.
Yeah, and also too, I love the idea of making a very tangible way to invest local. It's hard to find your local deals unless you are traveling in those circles and getting to those luncheons. But having a singular place where you can have a focal point of all these different types of local stories and companies and businesses and opportunities looking to finance themselves, I think lends itself well to the overall ecosystem and just providing people an opportunity to put their money where they want to put the money.
And I should mention too, from the company perspective, if you're raising, say, $250,000 and your option was maybe 1 or 2 accredited investors for that amount, or 100 new investors each giving you $2,500, what you're doing is, yes, you're taking on a new base of shareholders, but you're also taking on 100 versus 2 people to start telling your story. You're building a network internally. You're building a cheerleading group that are going to go tell their 5 friends. And when the company goes and it reaches the goals on that first raise and they're going to do another, those 100 people are going to tell a few friends each, and then you build an audience that way. And it's an internal growth that you're not going to see outside of, with just investing or bringing in money from, a private equity. We are definitely pre-private and pre-venture, so I'm not dismissing those, but that's a benefit to the company who sometimes wonders, I don't know about taking on all these shareholders, but this is a good thing. When you bring on all these people who are fans of your company, who like what you do, maybe you're a customer and that's why you're investing, but these are all positive things to help your company grow and get the word out, really, for essentially free advertising.
No, absolutely. I've always said that my knowledge is way more valuable than my money. Right? Again, the introductions you can make, the doors that you can open, the intangible things that money can't do. When the more people you have on your team promoting your company and promoting your business, is only going to benefit it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Again, I'm talking with Paul and Erich, the founders of Go Alberta Crowdfunding. Click on the website in the comment section and go from there. So how long have you guys been around, and how many, if you're able to share, I'm not going to ask for specific, customers or investments, but, how many companies are, have you helped, and maybe there's a really good success story that you can share.
Well, we're very early out of the gates here, Jade. So Paul and I had worked together for 7 years at a prior investment fund downtown. And we came up with this concept probably about a year ago. In that time, we probably spent about 6 months aggregating and looking at about 3,000 different Alberta websites and businesses and companies. We're overly whelmed with the variety and the depth of what's going on in this province. And to help facilitate that financing, we made application to the Securities Commission, got through that process in July. So we haven't been at this for a long period of time, but we have 2 active offerings that are on their way. One is an ammunition manufacturing company, a lifestyle company looking to change the Canadian landscape when it comes to some of our heritage and traditions on the shooting side, project a positive spin-off on that. We're really excited about that offering. And then we also have a sustainable geothermal project that we're helping along as well. And so it's been overwhelming with the number of people we've been speaking to and have approached us looking for financing at this point in time. But we have 2 active deals on the way.
Well, that's awesome. Congratulations. So, obviously dealing with ASC as I have in the crypto industry for quite some time, but what's next for you guys now that you're off there? You're kind of, you hit the ground running, you're ready to go. You got a couple on. What's maybe some of your let's say short-term goals, maybe for 6 months to a year, and then some long-term goals?
We'll start off by saying that because, as Erich mentioned, equity crowdfunding is relatively new in Canada. A big push right now is from an educational front. So we're trying to get in front of people that work with businesses. So that's accountants and lawyers, chambers of commerce, the economic development guys, just to kind of tell the story that this is a viable alternative to fundraising outside of debt. And, there's an educational component on, how we could help you out, how this looks, how the money's raised, some of the regulatory stuff. So it's about getting out there and talking to people. Erich mentioned we work together in an investment firm. We've both been in the industry for 20 plus years. And what excites me about this is that, especially my first half of my career, was working with small businesses, mostly local ones, in various capacities, whether it's corporate finance, raising money, some kind of advisory stuff. But there's something to be said about being able to sit across a kitchen table, even with a husband and wife team or a small boardroom with the founders, that wasn't something we were able to do in the last couple of years, more on the fund and ETF side of things. But it's nice to come full circle to now go back and meet those people and ultimately help them solve problems, whatever it might be. So on top of the equity crowdfunding that we're able to offer and help companies do, we're building a referral network. So when we sit down with those companies, and depending on what issues or what help they need, to be able to advise them or show them people in their local community where they can get that additional help. Because a lot of these companies could be a year or more away from an actual crowdfunding campaign. So we need to know the people, whether you're in Grand Prairie or Red Deer or Lethbridge, on who we can advise or who we can refer you to when it comes to maybe legal or accounting or coaching advice. So it's a real push to just kind of get out there and educate and tell people that this is an actual thing. There's not too many people in Canada who are doing this. And, that's probably the biggest push for the next probably year or so. Erich, you probably have some other things to add there.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head, Paul. I mean, when you look kind of at the history, like in the UK, equity crowdfunding was launched sometime in 2013, and they did approximately 28 million pounds in the first year. Well, last year they did over $500 million. So it shows the tremendous potential of what equity crowdfunding can do. And I think it's incumbent upon us to kind of get out there and stand up top of the hill and say, hey, if you're an entrepreneur and you're looking for a way to raise money for your company, if you're stuck with your the depth of your contacts and it's difficult to find the capital you need to grow.
Live show.
Live show. I'm sure he'll come back. But I think he's saying too that whether you're an individual company or a person who works with companies, reach out to us. There you are, Erich.
Yeah, I was just trying to say, reach out to us. We're a solution. We're an option, and we're happy to be filling that space, which I think is very underserviced.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
And as I said, I mean, there's never enough people helping companies raise capital and giving them an opportunity to find somebody who may be interested in investing in them. So, something like this is great. And again, I thank you guys for coming on, sharing your story and building something that will help some of these companies, get to the next step and whatever that next step is.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jade. I mean, this is exactly the right platform for us to tell our story.
Oh, absolutely. And we're not done yet, because I do have one more question left. So it's a question I've asked 350-ish times. It's something that I love hearing because I get so many different answers. But you know what, Erich, why don't we start with you? If you had one piece of advice for a startup or entrepreneur just about to do their first raise, what would that be?
Be determined. There's a lot of resistance to accepting rejection. We're afraid of it. It can be hard to hear the words no, but there are lots of other supports and places to find the capital you need. So just keep your nose to the grindstone and keep going forward, because our economy is driven by small businesses, and every idea amounts to something. So make sure you keep going at it. And if you are interested in tapping into some crowdfunding, talk to us. Maybe we can support you. If not, we can definitely direct you to others that might be able to help you as well.
Awesome. Paul, yourself?
And to piggyback that a little bit, I would say persistence and not to be shy. Asking for money from the bank or your friends and family can be very daunting, and especially when it comes to your friends and family. It could be very intimidating because you're going to have to see them every Christmas or Thanksgiving, and sometimes it's not an easy conversation, but you need to be persistent. And as Erich mentioned, on our front, especially if you're raising money and you have contacts, we can help you with that message on how to bring it up and how to bring up the topic about investing and financing and telling your story, because some people have a very difficult time talking about themselves, and that's where a lot of practice comes in and getting over that shyness.
No, I agree. And yeah, I could probably have a whole new conversation on asking friends and family for money and the stresses and the issues and the things that go with that. It's they're not ready to potentially lose their money like an angel, so it's a whole new thing. But again, I'm excited again. Thank you, Paul, Erich, the founders of Alberta, Go Alberta Crowdfunding. If you want any more information, click on the link in the comments section. If you're looking to raise capital, again, the TNT event is coming up. If you're looking for just some help and some advice, next Tuesday is our next, September 24th. We will be at Osler. Last time, I think we had 5 or 6 companies come through, and we were lucky enough to share our knowledge with a few of them. But again, Paul, Eric, thank you for creating this. Thank you for coming on and sharing your story. And I look forward to watching the difference that you're going to make in Alberta and then potentially across Canada.
Well, thanks for having us, Jade. Thanks everybody who's been listening, and it's been our pleasure.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah, and tune in next week as we've got a surprise. It's something we've never done before. It's going to be fun. It's going to be off the wall, and there's going to be some collaboration going on. So I'm not going to say anything. You're going to have to wait and see. But I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their Wednesday, and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Have a good day, guys.